It's the SWP Disciple. Something nice on the other side of that road. Maybe I should. Let me see, how fast am I going? I'm already probably going as fast as I'm willing to go. I have a nice straightaway. Party starts in like 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. I don't need to be like on time. You can see I got 32 kilometers. There is the Jaguar. I said Jaguar. I forget the nomenclature because they changed them a few years ago. Is it the XK? But it's pretty nice. I can't tell if it's the V6. Obviously, they're going at a certain speed because the spoiler's up. As am I, like 80 plus miles an hour. So I'm kind of above. I think the speed limit's like 80 kilometers, but people pretty much drive American speeds here, so no one really pays attention to that. So as long as I'm not blowing by anyone, that's quite nice, even in white. I'm not a huge fan of white cars, but I probably would buy it in white based on what I'm seeing here. And they're really nice. I think the manual only comes with the supercharged V6. Most of them I think are V8s, or especially if you get the like the SVR version, which with the big V8, supercharged V8, that's auto only. Honestly, it probably drives better with an auto, but my whole thing is like if I'm gonna buy a sports car and be already compromised in down 2 seats, and I think with those, I don't think, because it's such a small roof, I don't think it comes with a sunroof. It better be manual, but I've always liked those. That's a proper GT. Because of the practicality, and when I say practicality, I mean like the reliability of the what's the big Lexus Grand Tour called? LC? I think it's the LC 500. I think you're kind of, and it sounds great too from what I understand, I think you're compelled to buy the LC, even though this is probably more fun. I forget how they sound compared to the LC, but I know the LC sounds really nice. That motor too is like bulletproof. A buddy of mine has a GSF, like I think a 2020, which has the same motor, and that's a great buy. They're rare too. Not the best new car because they were like $90,000, but if you can get like one used for like 50, that's an excellent used car, and you can keep it forever. So anyway, off to my aunt and uncle's house. My cousin, their daughter, left a while ago because she was helping us set up. I feel kind of bad, but like I just wanted to be leisurely about today and just not be like on a schedule per se. I'm getting a bit big for some of my older shirts. I have a rather nice Ralph Lauren gingham button up right now, but it's snug. I mean, I could button it all the way up, but I feel like it looks better. As I get older, I like actually buttoning my shirts up and then leaving the sleeves long and, tucked in. That's like a very, proper middle-aged man's look, but because it's a little tight for me, I have it like, tail out. It's not too long, so it doesn't look ridiculous. And then instead of like the top button open, like the top like 3 open, but the only problem is, as I was rushing out of the house, I forgot to pack my undershirts. And I kind of in my mind planned ahead for it. I'm sure it's just the stack of them are sitting on my bed. So I ran to the mall to Marshall's no less, to get some jockey like V-necks, so that way the open, kind of like the exaggerated open button look looks good and appears well with my gold necklace. So not that I'm trying to look like like a Jamaican man or a Guido or something, but it is a pretty nice look. I'll decide which watch I'm going to keep on when I go to the party. I have my other black chronograph, the Movado, but right now I have on my white face Tissot, which I enjoy. I'll see. The black face might look better, but we'll see. This is actually a pretty clean look. And as I get older too, I don't like chronographs as much. I prefer the clean look of just a regular timepiece with the date. Give you another look at it while I stay straight. Tissot, the official watch of the NBA. They make a really nice Boston Celtics like 2024 championship watch, but at a certain point, maybe I'll get it. I'm sure they're still available. They were like limited production just for 2024, so there might be some collectability, some collectability there. But at a certain point, how many this is an automatic, but I think that was a quartz watch. My Movado is a battery operated quartz, but all my other three watches are all automatics, which is what a proper watch guy would wear. It's kind of like a driving manual. So, but first world problems. But this should be fun. I have like a nice care package for my mom and my aunt. Of course, for my Canadian contingent. I have a lot of family up here, not just Toronto, but even further out west, out to like Alberta. So I represent them because, like, Lord knows, everyone's always like, oh, why don't you, insert my mom's name here, because they all haven't seen her in many years. My aunt they've seen probably in the last like 10, 15 years, but not my mom, because my mom hates everybody equally for no reason at all. So like I represent her. I'm the olive branch. Of course, she's like, oh, you don't represent me. And I'm like, yes, I do. They're always asking for you. And then she's like, oh, I don't care. For when I say no reason at all, I mean like beefs going back to Jamaica back in the 60s and 70s, literally. That I'm not even sure if she remembers. I don't even know why. But in any event, I'm happy to see him. I love my family, so I'm happy to see him up here. The good thing about this visit is that I don't necessarily have to come out here in August, like for caravanas. I usually do. Now, my other cousin, who I'm really close to, she doesn't necessarily get along with this side of the family, so I didn't see her this weekend. And she had other plans today anyway, and she's like, oh, I wasn't invited. And I'm like, come on, you're invited, but I'm not going to get into it. So I may be obligated to come out here just for her in August, but obviously this is a yeoman's drive. It was like 9 hours to drive out here. I'm sure you're wondering, like, why don't you just fly? And I'm like, the price of tickets from Bradley, which is, serves Western Mass, but it's really like north, or kind of like north central, I guess, Connecticut, but it serves Western Mass. And the price of the tickets, because I don't think that's like an often flied or often flown route from there to like Ontario. So the tickets are like expensive, so it's like it makes sense for me to drive, especially because up here you kind of need a car. They do have good public transit, but like I gotta go places. You might forget your stack of V-neck undershirts and have to go and buy one, or go for a Jolly Rancher run, as I did. There, of course, Jolly Ranchers are like, I think it's a Canadian candy, which is like my favorite candy, and they had plenty of them at Walmart. They actually were almost sold out yesterday. I went back and grabbed some more today, and they restocked it. Of the tropical too, which are hard to find. I was pretty happy about that. But yeah, so it'll be fun. This will be, instead of, if you remember a couple years ago, my aunt, his wife, we had a big extravaganza at they rented out a hall. This time it's just in the family home in their basement, which they have a finished basement that can probably hold like 40 people, so that's perfectly fine. That's all he wanted, and be happy to bring good tidings of great joy, the presents from my mom and my aunt, and also I brought them a little something myself, so this should be a good old time. And what was I going to say? There is like a Trinidadian restaurant that I want to see. I don't know if there's going to be time because I'm leaving tomorrow by like 4 the latest. You figure like an 8-hour drive. Hopefully it's not 9 hours like it was coming down here. The reason why is because at night, much of upstate New York turns into like a big fog bowl. So you got to drive really slow because it's dangerous, it's treacherous. I figure if I leave a little earlier, I'll avoid that. That's like probably the 3rd or 4th time that's happened to me driving up here, so I can put a rubber stamp on it. So driving past a certain time, like much past say like 8 p.m. upstate New York, it just becomes like a big like low-hanging cloud, which is what fog is. So I'll leave a bit earlier, and it would be nice to get back home by like midnight. Of course I stay up really late anyway, so that's perfect. That gives me a couple hours, if not 3 hours, to wind down before starting a new week and everything. One thing I found out, so knock on wood, my systems did work up here in north of the border, but our important like Jira system, which allows us to like submit like technical tickets and stuff, does not work north of the border. So I have like a couple pending tickets. I told my team lead. No one asked like, wait, why is it not working? So I didn't have to make up a story or anything like that, but I'm sure it's because of a firewall. Because some of the systems are like proprietary, and they're actually systems that you're bridging to another system outside of the large financial company that I work for, and it's manned by another company, probably overseas. I'm sure it detected that I was international, even though it's hard to think of Canada as international, and then blocked me, but it was fine. I just got like 2 pending tickets. I can do those when I get back in the States on Monday. So the latest, first world concern is cars. I think a Porsche 996, 997 is out of my purview. Again, I got my 228 on that, epic road trip from Oregon back to the East Coast. We're probably like, 3 weeks, 2 weeks away from the, less than 2 weeks, because I think it was like April 29th or so of 2024. It's really 3,000 miles straight across, but I went down the Rockies through the south and then back up the eastern seaboard, so it was like 4,800 miles. I guess that you can call that an epic road trip, which I always wanted to do, so my bucket list is fulfilled. At some point, I will do the proper straight shot, like from the Pacific Northwest, through Montana and the Dakotas and everything, and then straight across, Route 90, I guess. In a perfect world, I'm probably going to Texas to see some friends I'm getting so old now that the people that I graduated with in undergrad, 25 years ago, their nieces and nephews, sons and daughters are all grown up and graduating. Ooh, that looks like a Golf R. They're graduating, so one of my close friends, we'll call her R, her nephew, because she hasn't had any kids of her own, I don't think she will at this point, because, in February she just turned 46. Her nephew is graduating from down in Texas, so I'm going to use that as an excuse to see my Texas friends, and that's like the end of next month, so May 29th I think is the graduation, so I'll probably go down there the 27th, 28th, and because I'm in the States, I can work those. I'll probably take like 2 weeks off, or not really off because I'll be working, but you know what I mean, like a 2-week trek. Probably couch surfing. There'll be a few days where I'm staying in hotels or whatever, so that figures to be pretty expensive, but I'm due for it. Because I didn't do that last year. I haven't done it in a couple years. I did the Texas trip when I picked up the BMW 228 back in May 2024. So good symmetry. Again, still waiting for word on school, though I know that the seats are all full, so it's just a matter of whether I'm turned down or if I'm on the wait list. In any event, it's looking very 2027-ish, and then I got to start, to turn the jets on as far as like looking at other schools. I'm starting to run out of people to write letters, right? Because the 3 people that wrote my recommendation letters, they are on standby to do like a more generic letter should I apply to another school, but I can't ask them like a 4th time because it's already like the second go around to say I'm like waitlisted, because the way it works is like if you're waitlisted, you still got to apply again for 2027, though you're given like preferential treatment because they know that you're already technically accepted, if that makes any sense to you. It's so stupid. Why wouldn't you just be waitlisted, and like if you opt to wait until 2027, you can just wait until 2027. So I got that hanging over my head. It's starting to get to a point now where it's like stretching pretty deep into my life, and it's like, for some people, dare I say, lesser men, they would probably abandon ship, but as Optimus Prime said, I'm made of sterner stuff. Of course, that's what he says when he has Megatron dead to rights, before he takes his eye off of Megatron and Rodimus gets in the way and then ends up leading to Optimus Prime getting shot dead. But Megatron's begging for mercy, and he's like, I'm paraphrasing, you who gives no mercy begs for it. I thought you were made of sterner stuff. Well, and I've been saying that for like 40 years, literally. It's the 1986 movie. So, but I am made of sterner stuff, so I will stay the course. Even obviously for each year, if that takes me to age 47 next year, really close to 48, that means that I don't finish until I'm like in my early 50s, which is awful, but I'm already committed. So, the fun stuff. Before I sign off, because I'm almost there. Cars. It looks like the winding path. So it looks like taking my eye off the ball and buying the 228, which I thought was going to save me money, may have cost me money, because like the principal 2 sports cars that I would really be interested in, the F87 M2 or 996/997, they went up at a faster rate than the money saved with the 228, or faster than I could save in those 2 years. They were say like if you got a deal like upper 30s, 40 2 years ago, and now you're firmly into like well into the 50s, if not in the case of a 997, past 60 really for a proper one. Not to mention, you know, you got to deal with Porsche maintenance and all that. So I don't know if this is like just wait until I graduate, build the 228, or look for something else. It's actually a fairly substantial problem, if you will, because it's like it's a lot of money whichever way you go. And then there's the matter of like, you know, satisfaction. Obviously I buy cars that hold their value, so like, you know, I can sell them back for at least the same if not more, which I've done pretty well with the last 10 years. Of course, reputations are hard to shake. My boy C is like, you know, you always lose out when you buy cars. I'm like, that hasn't been true in like more than 10 years. But of course, he's known me for like 24 years. So he's thinking of the days back when I got the Infiniti, you know, G37 and kind of like lost my shirt on it. And a couple other like lesser vehicles back in the day. So whatever, touche. But it's one of those things. I remember Doug DeMuro where he was thinking of like, you know, if you're buying a pickup truck, you can't afford not to buy the Raptor. And what he means is, even though the Raptor is obviously like a lot more than say buying like a Silverado, which is a fine pickup, or even like a Toyota Tundra, in which case with the Tundra, you'd probably have to get the TRD Pro, which is like, you know, like a $20,000 plus premium over even say like a nice Limited or certainly an SR5. But those still have depreciation left in them, whereas like the TRD Pro, you'll get all your money back. Sometimes you'll get back even more. All right, so it's almost off-ramp time. So it's kind of the same thing. I could probably be all right with like a 340 with a manual, or dare I say a 440 with a manual, which is like hard to find. But the smart money, all right, which way am I going? I guess this is it. Sometimes it doesn't label it properly. So like that was 63, but 63 is labeled all the way down here, but back there it said 57, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? It's a good thing I was like paying attention while multitasking, as much as I lament multitasking, because it's not really a thing. You're just doing two things poorly and like shifting attention back and forth. You know, Bill Nye the Science Guy. So yeah, again, first world problem. The smart money, if I were a guy who wasn't like a car snob and I could drive, say, front wheel drive, I could probably get like an FK8 Civic Type R or something. I mean, that looks a bit ridiculous for my age. Even the newer one, the FK9, I suppose. But like, you know, something like that, like a rally car, I would probably opt more just because of the balance of price, even though the Honda is probably more reliable. You know, I still have a thing for the Focus RS, even though a lot of the reviews are like the seats are too high, the ride is a bit, especially if you get like the what is it, like package 3 with the stiffer suspension and all that, like it's too stiff. It looks very boy racer-ish. It's also one of those things too, like, do you get the nitrous blue or do you opt for whatever that gray color is? As much as I love blues, and I love blues is my favorite color, basically all shades, the gray is probably the better call because you don't look as ridiculous, though it's not the signature color. It's noted the nitrous blue, it's actually like, you know, it has like some gold flake in it, and allegedly it costs Ford, I mean, obviously they don't make them anymore, but I don't want to put a number on it because I don't want to lie to you, but it cost Ford like extra money for, like, it was like a loss leader, like they were losing money on that color. It was like that high quality, like, you know, no orange peel, the extra flake in it, and it was like kind of like a 3-stage process as opposed to a lot of cars. I still like the TLX, but they have no manual, and I feel like a proper sports car, if it's going to be precious, needs to have a manual, you know, kind of like a Chevy SS or something, or a E39 M3. But they're nice. They still look nice to me. If I were rich, you know, or rich adjacent, that would probably be like my daily driver, you know, along with like my SUV, and then I have like a proper precious sports car to go along with it. And I feel like that's one of those cars that certain people look better driving it. Like if I were an Asian man, I would look better in that. It's almost like you get like bonus points in it, makes you look richer than you are, but you got to be Asian. So anyway, what was I saying there in my ramble? I'm about to sign off because I'm pretty close, 6 minutes away now. About to turn onto Highway 7, which is like their A1A out here, out this way, towards my aunt and uncle's house. But Yeah, so much like, the analogy I was drawing with the like the Raptor, I'd be better off kind of like spending all the money and getting like an M2 comp, or really even springing the extra 25 grand. I mean, I could do it, it'll be kind of stupid, but you're getting your money back. You'd basically just be parking your money. If I got like an M2 CS, which I would be paying in the sense of like those are like on the cheap, like 75 grand, and the really nice ones are like into the 80s. I've seen some as much as like 90. Of course, that was the CS is like the I think Club Sport is what it stands for, and that's like the collector's version. But you get like the full throated like M3 M4 engine. I think it's producing like 440 something horsepower instead of like just over 400. And then you get like the better suspension, you get the nice bronze wheels, carbon fiber roof, which I know a lot of the car fanboys, they like that. I like a good sunroof. I use mine all the time. Only reason why mine isn't open right now is because of the wind noise and the buffeting while I'm driving at a low enough speed where I probably could, and you wouldn't really hear it because I'm no longer on the highway. But yeah, I Grand Tour all the time, and I don't like not sunroofs but convertibles. So sunroofs are really important to me. To me, like nothing like driving in the spring and summer with your top open, but not the whole top, for torsional rigidity reasons, but just like you're getting that outdoor feel while still having like a full coupe, if you will, or full greenhouse. So yeah, in terms of M2s, the CS really is the one. And I wouldn't be tracking it or anything like that. I think Chris Harris used to have one. He said it's an amazing car. I was talking to Zygreen, Fenton's son. He has that YouTube channel, but we also are kind of buddies on Instagram. So I was just talking to him before I set out, and he said the regular F87 M2, like even the comp, doesn't have as much soul, like in terms of like the feel, steering feel and all that, doesn't have as much as the 996, 997. Of course, he had a 997 before, and he said it was basically a maintenance nightmare. He kind of backed off of it now that he's been out of it for, I think he sold it probably like 2-3 years ago at this point. So sometimes in the afterglow you feel differently about things than when you were in it, but I remember him lamenting all of the maintenance and stuff. And he said, he just told me just a moment ago before I set out, like, less than an hour ago, he was like, he spent as much on maintenance as the cost of the car. Now I can't remember how much he spent on the car, but he had a really nice Carrera S. I think it was like 2006 or so, maybe 2007. So you figure, I think he got it at a nice price. So let's say he got it for like low 30s, but then imagine spending another like low 30s on maintenance and stuff, which I don't have it like that. Like he's an engineer and stuff, so I can assume that he has more discretionary income than I do. I don't have it like that. I need whatever I buy to be like reliable. So again, getting back to what I was saying, there's certain cars, even though it's more expensive, it's almost like you can't afford not to buy them, because when you figure in the preservation of value on the back end, and then also you don't have to worry about as much maintenance if you buy it properly, yada yada yada, you're better off just spending all the money up front and then getting something that's like has a warranty, it's early in its life cycle, it's in great shape, da da da, instead of buying some 60 plus 70,000 mile 996, 997, which would still be low mileage for the year and stuff, but you got to do like rear main seal, probably the IMS bearing, brakes. Even things like brakes are really expensive. I have people that can do my brakes. My cousin can. I suppose I could if I really wanted to put the elbow grease on. I don't really care to do that type of stuff, but it's funny because I just had my front struts done on this car. It rides like a dream now. Like it's like tight as a drum. And I could have done it myself, but I don't have like a flat driveway, and I don't necessarily have the tools, etc., etc. I have friends where I can go to their garage or whatever and use their garage. But to me, it was spending the $330 or whatever, which was kind of a ripoff for what amounted to a little over an hour of labor. I probably, whatever, you know what I'm saying. But I kind of lamented that too, because I pride myself on getting my little bonuses from like banks and stuff when I open these many accounts that I have, and I spent like my Chime bonus, which I got like $350, and I think the labor for putting it in, because I bought the struts from, was it Detroit Axle, I believe, which I read the reviews. They're pretty good replacement struts, and they make pretty good replacement parts. Not the best, but pretty good, you know, especially for the price. I think it was like $240. So I ended up having to spend that bonus. I usually like to just let it sit, let it marinate, and I'll look at my my app in my phone and kind of admire it. Yeah, I did that. But that's all right, you know. Money comes and money goes. All right, so I am here. Now I gotta find, as you can see, the party's picking up. All these cars here are here for my uncle, so I gotta kind of get in where I fit in. As you can see, pretty nice neighborhood. I think that's the house right there I'm passing by. So I gotta kind of like loop around and figure out something. Oh, there's my my Uncle C, my other uncle, just pulling up now. So good timing, 7:15. I never open up a party as like the first person, and you know this is a Jamaican party, so no one's really showing up on time per se. It's all gonna be like a trickle in of people. As you can see, really nice neighborhood, and all these houses are much bigger than they look inside. These are all like $1 million homes, believe it or not. So they're living a lot nicer than we are up north, or I should say down south. Geez. Usually in Massachusetts, I would say up north, but I forget that we're north of the border, so like south of here, just below the border. But all right, so I rambled on long enough. If you have any car suggestions or anything, let your boy know. But right now it's looking very like M2-ish, or if I can just somehow steal a deal on like a 997. But then again, there's like all the maintenance and everything, so it's like you're not done once you've bought it. Anyway, the Lord is faithful. Stay with me. God bless.